The footage I am about to show you has been suppressed on this platform by UK Meet The Tyrants because it consists of him presenting himself in a less than flattering light. I'm told that he has made every effort to ensure that it is removed by YouTube every time it appears. I show it here, but before you see it, I want to add some important context. Here I beg your forbearance, but it is important that you listen to the context I'm going to give you before you watch the footage. First, I will not be revealing the source of the footage or providing any link to that person's online presence or contact information. This is because it became immediately obvious to me that this person does not respect the privacy of UK Meet The Tyrants. And I have to approach things differently, and I repeat what I've already said elsewhere, that I think it is wrong to reveal personal information about anyone online unless that person has voluntarily consented. Without that consent, there would have to be some pretty overwhelming argument for it, such as that the individual is an actual physical danger to the public or actively involved in serious criminal activity. I believe auditing is illegal and also involves the commission of civil wrongs, but the harm and wrongs involved are not on a sufficiently serious level for me to start revealing people's real names and so forth. We're not talking about a gang of armed robbers. The second point I want to make is that the footage is taken from what appears to be an audit visit by UK Meet The Tyrants to some sort of COVID-19 temporary health station beneath a canopy. I personally strongly objected to and opposed the public health restrictions imposed due to COVID-19, which puts me in the same camp politically as UK Meet The Tyrants, at least on this issue. I explained my position on this in the previous video about it, which I linked to in the description. This would normally mean that I would refuse to review this footage out of sympathy for UK Meet The Tyrants, because I see nothing wrong with auditors having challenged those restrictions, as the restrictions were an outrageous infringement of civil liberties. I don't regard visits that protested all this as abusive auditing. I regard it as political activity that protected ultimately our civil liberties and was protected ultimately by Article 10 of Schedule 1 to the Human Rights Act. The difference in this case, the reason why, despite my own views, I have decided to show the footage, will be obvious when you watch it in a moment. UK Meet The Tyrant's actions are discreditable. He goes beyond mere political protest and verbally intimidates and abuses a health worker. The third point of context is that we need to bear in mind that in what follows UK Meet The Tyrants is obviously joking. It's clear to me that what he says to the health worker isn't meant to be taken seriously. That's partly me giving UK Meet The Tyrants the benefit of the doubt, which I like to do, but it's also because just the nature of what he says seems unlikely to have been meant intentionally. There's a nuance to this that I'll explain after you've watched it. The last bit of context is that this footage is clearly showing only part of an incident, so always bear in mind that just as auditors will edit things to suit them, sometimes their editing may remove actions on the part of others that would actually put them in a more positive light. We don't know if UK Meet The Tyrants was provoked in some way. Not that that would be a legal defence to the matters that I'm going to outline, but it would be of broader relevance. I'll now show the footage and come back with further comments and analysis.
Say again?
What are you taking photos of?
What am I taking photos of?
Yeah, or for?
I'm taking pictures of you for me.
Why?
Because I run a channel that's a bit like Grindr.
Okay.
You know what Grindr is?
I do.
Well, there's your answer then.
So you're taking photos of us? So obviously.
How many?
You're taking photos of us?
There's three of you. I missed one.
Well, I'd rather you didn't take photos of us without asking our permission.
Why do I have to ask permission?
Because you're taking photos of us.
Yeah, but when you go over there into Morrison's, there's cameras there. You don't ask them, do you?
But you're running the channel, you're running something called Grind, like Grindr.
Yeah.
So for Grindr's that dating app for gay men, isn't it?
I can't hear you from...
Grindr is that dating app for gay men, isn't it?
Oh, you would know.
So, but I don't understand why you're taking photos of us.
I've just explained to you. What did you not understand?
Well, I don't understand why you're taking photos of us. You're a bit odd.
I'm a bit odd.
Yeah,
Well, odd in a good way or odd in a bad way?
odd in a bad way.
A bad
A
way?
bit creepy.
A bit
perverty.
bit creepy and perverty.
Yeah, I'd rather you kind of fucked off.
Fucked off?
Yeah.
That's a bit rude.
Well, you're taking photos of them, which I don't like.
What, you want me to take better pictures? You haven't even seen them yet. How do you know you won't like them?
Shit, you're taking photos of us that I don't like.
You haven't seen them, so how do you know you're not going to like them?
Back, you're taking photos of us.
Alright, so you're not bothered about whether it's good pics or bad
It
pics?
makes no fucking difference. I'm 17, I'm a child. You don't
You're a
get to take
child?
photos of me.
You're a child?
You don't get to take photos of me.
Says who?
It says me. You're not after permission. You stood there like a fucking pervert.
How old? Like a what?
Pervert.
I'm a fucking pervert.
Taking photos with us. Ian, do you want him to take photos with you? No, Olive. Do you want him to take photos with you? No, so do us a favour and do one. Fuck off.
I will not,
Why not?
because I don't do what I'm told.
You're a fucking weirdo, you. Taking photos of people without asking their permission. Stop fucking taking.
Don't you dare,
Stop
boy.
fucking taking
Do
photos
not
of us.
fucking try it, boy. Get your ass back now.
What are you going to do?
I'll put you on your fucking ass.
Yeah, you will.
Back now.
Fuck off.
Back now.
Fuck
Or you'll end up on your fucking ass.
What? With these people about, yeah? You're going to fucking attack me? I'm a
You
child,
just
mate.
come to
I'm a
attack
child,
me.
Mate.
Get your ass
You're
back.
taking photos of me
Get
without
your ass
asking my
back to
permission.
work now.
Fuck off.
Get your fucking ass back to
Stop
work.
taking fucking creepy
You touch
photos.
my...
The reason I left the first part of that where the health worker is a bit more out of focus, I left it unblurred just so we could get a better sense of what UK Meet the Tyrants is doing with his camera. Obviously there was abuse there from the health worker. I'll deal first with the behaviour of UK Meet the Tyrants. Here's the nuance that I think we need to understand. I don't believe he intended what he said, but I do believe that he intended for anyone listening to believe it was intended, if you see the distinction. In other words, I doubt he ever does go on whatever the name of that site is, Grindr or whatever, still less publishes people's images there, but he obviously knows of the site by repute, and I think his intention was to make people think that he might publish their images on that site. What he was doing therefore was seeking to cause alarm and distress. Against that background, first I note he is speaking to more than one person, although only one person is obvious to us in the clip. There are others there that he was pestering and bothering, so this was harassment under Section 1A of the Protection from Harassment Act 1997, which only requires one event. If there were two events of this harassment, then obviously it's the other harassment offence defined in Section 1 of the same Act. Furthermore, his conduct involved making threats or was disorderly, in either case in such a way as would be likely to cause someone harassment, alarm or distress, which is an offence under Section 5 of the Public Order Act 1986. First, let's consider the elements of the offence. A Section 5 public order offence involves using threatening words or behaviour or disorderly behaviour within the sight or hearing of a person likely to be caused harassment, alarm or distress thereby. If we take a look at the CPS published guidance on Section 5, which I link to in the description, we can see that disorderly behaviour is interpreted quite broadly in meaning, and it can include generally pestering people where that behaviour is likely to cause harassment, alarm and distress to someone. What this means is that UK Meet the Tyrants could have been summoned on the foot of either threatening words or behaviour, or disorderly behaviour, or both. I think his behaviour falls into both categories. Note that it's an easy offence to prove because it's not necessary for the prosecution to prove intent on the part of the accused, nor that anyone was caused harassment, alarm or distress. only that it is likely that someone in the vicinity would be caused harassment, alarm or distress. It's what you might call a low threshold offence that's designed to allow the authorities, especially the police, to deal with troublemakers and unpleasant people like this. Finally, we saw that UK Meet The Tyrants also threatened him with violence, which is an offence of common assault contrary to Section 39 of the Criminal Justice Act 1988. I don't believe there was any reasonable justification for the threats, as it was merely that the health worker was getting closer to him, but he only had to ask him to step back. He did not need to threaten him. These would all be summary-only offences, so we're outside the 6-month limit to prosecute it. But let's say we were prosecuting it. What we would need as evidence is the footage, and we'd also have a witness, which is the health worker he's talking to. The health worker insulted him but didn't threaten him. Insults could still be construed as a Section 5 offence in some circumstances, even though the insulting words requirement has been taken out of Section 5. But I don't believe the health worker committed any offence here, because when you view his insults in context, you can see it's a reflexive reaction to the alarming and harassing behaviour of UK Meet The Tyrants, and he was not the instigating party. That doesn't excuse the health worker's behaviour, don't get me wrong, but when we view it in context, it's hard to say he committed an offence. What this incident shows, in my view, is UK Meet The Tyrants hijacking a legitimate political point and using it for his own selfish purposes. For me, that's his real mischief here. He was not exercising his rights of free expression under Article 10. He was breaking the law and victimising others, which can never be a legitimate means to make a political point in a liberal democratic society.